And our fourth main topic today gets submitted to us by Ananya, let me make sure to try to say this right. Ananya Suresh. And Ananya Suresh writes, John, my boyfriend and I just got back from seeing Shang-Chi, and oh my God, it was exciting and so romantic and so funny. It's instantly my favorite comic book movie that I've ever seen. Anyway, we jumped on Rotten Tomatoes and saw that it has a 99% audience score. I can't remember ever seeing a score that high. Anyway, what do you think? Does this make you rethink your box office prediction? All right. So we come back. We started off today with Shang-Chi. We're kind of coming back around to Shang-Chi here. We were talking a little bit earlier in the show, for those of you joining us a little bit late, that Shang-Chi had a very good opening night on Thursday, actually exceeding the opening night that Fast 9 had. Fast 9 made $7 million on its opening night, on its way to a $70 million opening weekend. Shang-Chi made $8.8 million opening night, which exceeds that of Fast and the Furious. I still don't think it's going to make as much as Fast and Furious over the entire weekend, because I believe MCU audiences go more on first night than other audiences do, but we'll find out and we'll wait and see. That being said, last night, Ann and I went to the movie theater to go see Shang-Chi again. And the audience was fantastic.
That makes how many times? How many times have you seen Shang-Chi now, John?
Last night, the two screenings last night represented screenings 4 and 5. So Monday will be 6. Monday will be 6.
Gosh.
So
okay.
Just for those who don't know, the reason we're talking about Monday is because Ann and I have booked a private AMC theater for a private screening of Shang-Chi that we're just inviting some friends to. So that's going to be screening number 6. Anyway, so we saw it in an IMAX last night. And once the lights came up, the place went crazy. Like once the credits started to roll, the place went crazy. And then the first post-credit scene happened and everybody went crazy again. And then the second post-credit scene happened and the half of the audience that was still left, because, you know, half the people still leave after the first post-credit scene, went nuts again. And it was great. Now, I have said for a while, I think Shang-Chi is the best comic book movie since Logan. It's not as good as Logan. It's not as good as The Dark Knight. It's not as good as the first Avengers, but it is, I think, the best comic book movie since Logan, in my opinion. But I've also said, I'm not saying all of you guys will like it as much as me, just because I like it that much. But what I have also said is that I feel very confident that you will like it. Maybe not as much as me, maybe more than me, but at the very least believe you guys, when you see it, will like it. And the audiences have now seen it. And Shang-Chi right now, not only does it hold its 92% critic rating, it is holding, with over 1,000 submitted verified audience members, a 99%. Now remember, this is not some bullshit IMDb fan credit thing. You can't submit a rating on this unless you can verify you saw the movie, because Rotten Tomatoes is connected in with Fandango, and only people who had bought their tickets and actually bought tickets to the movie can actually submit. So no review bombing going on here, which is, I'm sure, to the chagrin of a lot of people who want to review bomb this. It's like, wait, you got to actually prove that you saw the movie? Damn it. You know, and it is sitting at 99%. And this is an incredible number. And now listen, it's not rare, guys, to see a comic book movie, like a fan favorite kind of movie, get very high audience scores. That's not terribly unusual. 99% when there's over 1,000. When there's over 1,000, that says something. And it speaks to what I was saying before. I don't believe everybody's going to love it as much as me, but I believe you're going to like it. And what this is basically telling us is practically everybody who watches this movie enjoys it. Maybe not as much as me, maybe more than me, but at the very bare minimum, people who watch this movie enjoy this movie. And that is something you can go, I've seen this movie now 5 times, and my heart just fills up every time I watch it. I just have such a great time watching this movie. I am so thrilled for it. Now, this goes back to what you guys, both of you, were saying earlier when we were talking about box office predictions for the weekend. Does this kind of word of mouth, is this kind of word of mouth going to carry a Shang-Chi to a bigger than expected opening weekend box office? Maybe it will. I'm still pegging it at 45 to 50 million, but I mean, we'll see. Anyway, Aaron, you saw the movie with me. You were in Vegas and watched it with me over a week ago. Are you surprised to see this high of an audience rating? Is this right where you thought it would be? And how do you think this kind of audience rating and word of mouth is going to feed the film moving forward?
I'm not surprised. I think it's going to do better than F9. I think it's going to surprise a lot of people in what it does, not only for this weekend's box office, but overall. And then, of course, globally, it's going to do extremely well. And the big reason is exactly what you just said, is that, you know, there will be people like you, like me, like Rob, who absolutely love it. But even if you don't love it, you're really going to like it because it has everything that anyone who enjoys movies likes. And so it's not just, oh, it's a really good MCU or it's a really good, you know, comic book movie. It's a really good MCU movie. It's a really good movie. And if you love storytelling, you're going to love it. And so I don't want to say it's the perfect movie because obviously that's a much larger conversation, but it's just one of those movies where you have to be a certain kind of person to be like, I didn't like it. Like, I'd really be curious if somebody said, I don't like Shang-Chi. I'd really be curious and fascinated to find out what nuggets they can pull out of their ass to complain about, because this movie's pretty darn special. And there's not a lot of those that come along very often, where even in the moment, and I won't give anything away, but even in the moment where the thing that needs to happen is happening, you're still like, I don't want this to happen. It's just beautiful. So beautiful. And I'm really excited for everyone, not just MCU fans or comic book fans. I'm excited for everyone to see it. And that's what's also going to continue to propel it, is when people who are outside of the bubble of MCU and comic book fans see it because their boyfriend or girlfriend or friend or neighbor drags them to see it, or they hear about it, and then they go, holy shit, this isn't even my kind of movie, but man, I really liked it.
Now, I fully expect there are going to be people who legitimately watch the movie and don't like it. I mean, that's just the nature of the subjectivity of film. I have no doubt. But you're right, Aaron. This just that this movie carries so many different elements to it to appeal to so many people that's why I believe that even though film is subjective and you're going to get they're going to get people who don't like it legitimately, I think the vast majority are, and the numbers are showing that. Rob, you're now seeing this audience rating for this film. Were you expecting to see it this high? I remember you saw it with me a number of weeks ago as well. Were you expecting to see the numbers these high? And do you think these numbers will play a part in the financial success or lack of success of Shang-Chi moving forward? What do you think?
Well, I think that people who are going to go see this movie, I use myself as an example. I was tremendously delighted and swept away by the movie because it was not what I expected. And I think, Marvel movies are kind of their own genre. And I always find it interesting when people they don't see that when they in their reviews. And I've really enjoyed the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I've liked some movies more than others, of course, but overall, the entertainment value of now the 25 MCU movies that have come out are pretty off the charts. And in terms of consistency, I'm delighted. And I think most people who are, look, there's a lot of people who have their blades sharpened to go after this movie just because. And I know we're in the midst of a bit of a Marvel backlash in some quarters, but it doesn't surprise me that the audience love this movie because, look, I've been a lifelong fan of science fiction, fantasy, and horror films. This is a delightful example of a fantasy film. And there's so much in it, the wuxia genre that I grew up with. There's a lot of that. It's a full-on, straight-up Chinese fantasy movie, which I didn't expect. And yet it's also the story about two friends, that grew up together, which I also didn't expect. The relationship between Awkwafina and Shang-Chi, or Sean, as she knows him, is a wonderful relationship. Mm-hmm. And there's so many different aspects Tony Leung, the great Tony Leung, one of my favorite actors working today, is a great, call him an antagonist. And then the women in this movie that are not, that I don't want to talk about because the movie will introduce you to them. One of them in the beginning of the film is just delightful. You can't not fall in love the same way that another character falls in love, because who wouldn't? And that was, I didn't know that was coming. That was the beginning of this movie. I think this movie, I mean, I'm not trying to oversell it, but it's why I love movies. And I think people are going to discover this on their own. And if you go in and you have a smile on your face and a smile in your heart, you're going to have a damn good time seeing Shang-Chi.
Yeah. And it's interesting too, because I mean, I see some people in the chat trying to have a ridiculous conversation about whether, Spider-Man Far From Home will do better at the box office than this. Well, of course it is. Spider-Man is the most popular comic book character in the world. I mean, maybe other than Batman. He's had 7 standalone feature films. He's been in Homecoming or in Infinity War and Endgame and all that kind of stuff. To try to compare what a box office like that will do to a movie of a character that most people have never heard of, with no big name stars in it, no recognizable MCU characters. Of course it's not going to. But I will tell you this. This is better than any of the Marvel Spider-Man movies. And I really like the Marvel Spider-Man movies. Like I really like Homecoming and I really like Far From Home. This is better than either of those movies. Now, whether it'll be better than Spider-Man No Way Home, who knows? John Watts has been working damn hard on this. He's closing out his trilogy. I'm sure he's going to bring us something really, really special. But I mean, obviously this movie will not make as much at the box office as, say, than a Black Widow will, which is a well-known, well-established MCU character. It won't make as much at the box office as Spider-Man No Way Home, a widely recognized, very established, multiple films in the MCU already character. Obviously not. It simply won't. But if Spider-Man No Way Home can even be 70% as good as Shang-Chi, it's going to destroy the box office. I mean, if Spider-Man No Way Home, with the popularity of the character and the pre-existing material, if it can even be 70% as good as Shang-Chi, it's going to absolutely blow up the box office. It's going to completely dominate the box office. But anyway, we'll have to wait and see. Guys, question is for you. What do you think about the audience scores coming in for Shang-Chi? They are remarkable. There's no other way to put them. They're remarkable. Almost everybody's enjoying this film. You don't see that an awful lot. How do you think that's going to affect the financial returns on it? I don't think personally it's going to affect it an awful lot. I still think it's going to struggle at the box office. Maybe you guys don't agree. Whatever it is you guys are thinking, jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts.